Classic 14.
Wait.
Okay, 14, you're free to go.
Yay! Now I can go back to eating people's skin.
Oh yeah, I forgot he did that. Classic 14.
Wait.
Classic 14.
Wait.
Okay, 14, you're free to go.
Yay! Now I can go back to eating people's skin.
Oh yeah, I forgot he did that. Classic 14.
Wait.
Classic 14.
Wait.
Okay, 14, you're free to go.
Yay! Now I can go back to eating people's skin.
Okay, 14, you're free to go.
Yay, now I can go back to eating people's skin.
Oh yeah, I forgot he did that. Classic 14.
Wait. In this video, I will be giving you an overview of the basics of ToonSquid. I will not be covering every detail. For that, you can visit the handbook at toonsquid.com/handbook, and you can follow this channel for more videos in the future. Just for reference, the app usage. We have the canvas in the center, where you can pinch with 2 fingers to zoom and to move the canvas. If you pinch and let go quickly, the canvas will reset its zoom and position. The different tools that you can use to add contents to your animation are here on the left. Right now, the brush tool is selected, so we can just start drawing on the canvas. We can also undo and redo all of our edits using these buttons on the right. Tapping the brush button again opens the brush library, where you can select different brushes, create your own or import them, and also edit all of the brush settings to customize them for your specific needs. Up here you can change the brush size and the brush opacity. Just like the brush tool, you can use the eraser tool to erase your brush strokes and the smudge tool to smear them. As an alternative to the undo buttons on the right, you can undo your edits by tapping the canvas with 2 fingers and redo them by tapping with 3 fingers. The fill tool can be used to quickly fill the inside of a connected region with a single color. Up here is where you can open the color picker, with which you can change the color of the brush. Alternatively, you can use the pipette tool to select a color from the canvas. Either switch to it via the pipette button on the left, or by touching and holding on the canvas with your finger until it shows up. The transform tool allows you to scale, move, and rotate your layers. As with all other tools, the transform tool options are up here. You can, for example, turn off the snapping. And if you ever forget what any of these icons mean, just tap this little triangle which expands the buttons and also shows the labels for each one. You can quickly delete the selected drawing layer using this delete button here on the right. Let's now look at the path tool. You can use this to add vector shapes to your animation. Every time you tap the canvas, it adds a new control point to the outline of the shape. If you touch and then immediately drag without lifting off of the screen, 2 Bezier control handles will get extended, which turn the neighboring connection segments into curves instead of straight lines. Tapping the first control point again will close the path. You can always change the behavior of each control point again by selecting a different symmetry setting or by setting it to be a sharp corner. Sometimes you don't want to create your own custom shapes by placing each control point. In that case, just tap the Path tool button again and select one of the shape presets from the shape library. Changing the scaling mode to freeform in the transform tool lets you change the horizontal and vertical scale of a layer independently of each other. Let's take a closer look at the color picker. Use the tabs down here to see different interfaces for selecting colors. In the color palette tab, you can select the color palette that should always be shown in the other tabs. You can also create new color palettes and add the currently selected color to them by tapping one of the empty slots in the palette. The button below the color picker shows us the list of drawing layers. Tap a layer to select it or drag and drop them to change their order. You can also hide layers using this button that looks like an eye. The inspector here is where you can see and edit all of the properties of the selected layer. The library is where you can import images, audio clips, and videos and add them to your animation. You can also create separate animation clips to use as reusable symbols in your animation, but we won't cover that topic in this video. Let's get to one of the most important parts of the editor, the timeline. This is where you define how your animation behaves over time. The blue play cursor shows us that we are currently on frame 1 of our animation. If we add a drawing here, it is by default only visible on frame 1. We can now move to frame 2 and add another drawing. This is how we can build up our animation piece by piece. Now, a lot of the time we want a single drawing to be visible for more than just one frame. We can do that by dragging one of the edges of the drawing. Now this drawing is visible from frame 1 to frame 11. Let's pinch the timeline with 2 fingers to see more frames at once. You can also increase the duration of a drawing by selecting a frame and then tapping the Extend Drawing button at the bottom. The Add Drawing button next to it can be used to add a new empty drawing to the timeline. Tapping this button here enables what is called onion skins. Onion skins show you the content of the previous and next drawings as reference for the movement that you are animating. The red circle here is the first drawing. If we move our play cursor back into the first drawing, now our second drawing is shown in green. Let's add an empty drawing between these two and use the onion skins to place a new circle between the existing ones. We can hit the play button in the timeline to play our animation. By default, the playback stops once it reaches the end of the animation. We can use the loop button to make it loop back to the beginning automatically. Tapping the play cursor again allows us to define a smaller region to be looped. This loop setting only affects the playback in the editor and not in your final export. If you double tap and drag in the timeline, you can select multiple drawings at once. Simply drag and drop your selected drawings to change their timing, or drag a retiming handle to change all of their durations at once. When this little magnet button down here is disabled, you can only move and edit your drawings until they reach another drawing. When you enable magnetic mode in the timeline, the neighboring drawings will also shift around to create separate drawings. Manually draw every frame one by one. Let's take a look at that in practice. We start by turning on Keyframing mode using this button down here. This now shows us all of the properties that support keyframes of the selected drawing layer. In the case of this pixel layer, that's the position, rotation, scale, and opacity. The small x can be used to hide properties that we don't care about. As mentioned, the keyframes that you see here only belong to the selected drawing layer. For example, if we select this path layer instead, we see a lot more properties in the timeline. Okay, now let's try to use keyframes to animate this layer between frame 1 and frame 24. First of all, because this is a pixel layer, we have to make sure to turn off the Edit Pixels option in the Transform tool, because we don't want to edit the pixels inside of the layer, but rather move the entire layer from one point to another. Now, with the play cursor on frame 24, we can simply drag the layer on the canvas, and as you can see, this automatically adds a new position